And welcome you all to the 34th Annual Convention organized by Ghaziabad Management Association. We had an enthralling inaugural session in the morning wherein our eminent thought leaders shared their perspectives. Carrying forward the momentum, we are all set for yet another to kindly grace us on the dais. Please put your hands together for Session Chair Dr. Sapna Rakesh, Director, J.L. Bajaj Institute of Management and Research, Greater Noida. And our esteemed speakers, Professor S.K. Kak, Senate Member, GLA and IIMT University, Academic Advisory Board Member of Bennett University and NCU Gurugram, and Dr. Girish Tripathi, Deputy Director General Academics with NTPC School of Business. Can we have a huge round of applause for all these stalwarts? Humbled to have you with us, sir. Has been rightly said, the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher inspires, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. There are no words which can communicate our awe and our respect for our eminent speaker, Professor S.K. Kak, Senate Member, GLA and IIMT University, Academic Advisory Board Member of Bennett University and NCU Gurugram. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? We request Dr. Amita Srivastava to kindly welcome sir with a token of greeting. Ma'am, please. We request Dr. Amita Srivastava to kindly. Unless you have the courage to leave sight of the shores. These words aptly describe our distinguished speaker, Dr. Girish Tripathi, Deputy Director General Academics, NTPC School of Business. We request Professor Yakbala Kapil. Ma'am, please. Not only in the pursuit of knowledge, but also in the dedication to nurturing and empowering others on their educational journey. One such charismatic leader is none other than our session chair, Dr. Sapna Rakesh, Director, J.L. Bajaj Institute of Management and Research, Greater Noida. It is a privilege to introduce ma'am. Dr. Sapna is one of the leading practitioners in management education and an accomplished educationist in India. She holds a PhD degree in the area of marketing from Kurukshetra University, India. She has been in leadership positions at several reputed B schools in India for the last 25 years. She has been fortunate to have worked for diversified opportunities and roles to develop as a promising academic and administrative head, educational leadership research, training and development, teaching and mentoring, change leadership are her areas of excellence. She has been instrumental in developing an understanding of student behavior, brand building measures, academic systems and research, leading to superior skill development and placement output. She has had a long academic journey in various GMA institutions like IPM Ghaziabad, ITS, IMI CDL and IMS UC campus. Can we have a thunderous round of applause for Session Chair Dr. Sapna Rakesh ma'am? We request Mr. Atul Sharma to kindly present a welcome sapling to Dr. Sapna Rakesh. Can we have a round of applause for the charismatic lady, Dr. Sapna Rakesh. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. It's a blessed day for me today. I've seen GMA growing leaps and bounds for past 20 years. I've been a part of Ghaziabad Management Association, and minus 3 years in my career of about 28 years, I've worked with Ghaziabad's institution, and I've also seen the growth of the Ghaziabad as a community of academics and management thinker. Today, being here, and I went to Dr. Kak and told him that I'm blessed to have you here today. For at the early career when Dr. Kak was the Vice Chancellor of Chaudhry Charan Singh University, from there to when he was the Vice Chancellor of MTU, we have have seen him, observed him very, very closely. This piece of paper is small to introduce him, but I'm sure we would rather love to hear him than to know about him. Let me have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Kak. Born in Srinagar, Kashmir, he completed his BSc Electrical Engineering 1969, MTech 1971, and PhD 1983 at IIT BHU, and joined as faculty in IIT BHU in December 1971. Reader 1978, Professor of Electronics Engineering 1985, and was Director Computer Center, BHU, Telecom Services Committee, Chairman and President of IIT BHU, Gymkhana. Since his student days, he was active in engineering, model making activity, and learned how theoretical knowledge is applied to solve real world problems. He honed his engineering skills and translated many ideas into active products and have won him many awards, prizes, and one US patent. As faculty, he established a communication system lab, that was 1973, 51 years back. Optical Communication Lab 1978, Digital Communication Lab 1979, and was also instrumental in starting the MTech program 1979 in Communication System Engineering at IIT BHU. He has completed 6 R&D projects for DAE, AICT, DRDO, MIT, and ISRO as principal investigator. He has contributed variously to electronic product design, technology reviews, and helped many government and private industries solve complex technical challenges. He has been advisor to DRDO for EW project, Samyukta, SWD radio and cognitive radio, FH network system, etc. Professor Kak was director of JP Institute of Information Technology, Noida from January 2003 till February 2006. He has been an independent director on the BSNL board from February 2008 till February 2011. He was appointed as the Vice Chancellor of Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut 2008, and then Vice Chancellor of Mahamaya Technical University, Noida in 2010, where he retired in November 2013. He then joined the JP University of Information Technology, Solan, as Vice Chancellor in March 2014, which he left in 2015, and is now working as freelancer since then. He has published 41 papers in both national and international journals and delivered over 115 valuable talks, guest lectures, and special seminars on various topics related to communication systems, engineering education, and life skills to audiences from research organization and industrial experts. He has been member of selection committee of various universities, national organizations, expert and co-chairman of RSC for selection of scientists for DRDO, ISRO, and DAE. Currently, he is senior member of GLA at IMT University, academic advisory board member of Bennett University, and NCU Gurgaon. Thank you so much for being here, sir. We are really lucky to have Dr. Girish Tripathi, who is an eminent management guru. Let me have the joy of introducing you, Dr. Tripathi. Sir is currently Deputy Director General Academics, NTPC, the School of Business. Through his illustrative career, he has been involved in academics and worked in esteemed academic universities and colleges. Prior to current position, he was a professor in IMT and BLS Institute of Management, Mohanagar, Ghaziabad. He was also professor and executive director at College of Engineering and Rural Technology, Meerut. Prior to academics, he also worked as functional consultant in the area of supply chain management, process-based technologies, private limited, and Mumbai Port Trust, Mumbai. He's a BTech, MTech, Master of Financial Management, and PhD from IIT Delhi, and he holds a lot of research papers to his credit. After the great session we have today in the morning on the dream of the Viksit India, which is a shared dream of all of us. It is a shared dream, not just because the Prime Minister says it. It is a shared dream because each one of us is looking forward to a life when children will stop dreaming to go abroad to make their careers. When researchers in this country would love to sit back in the country and research here, and not only would they research here, they would research to the extent that the Indian research and patents would hold value in the world campus. We also are looking for Viksit India for all of us, not only those who are sitting here in this room, but about 1 billion of us who really need a better standard of life. We also dream of Viksit Bharat because we all believe that the potential of this nation was somewhere lost in maybe past 500, 700 years, and we all aspire to get back the glory that India deserves. Academics, of course, play a very, very important role because they are the mediators between what happens and what we dream, for they shape the youth of the country to be of use to the country. Just a little thing that I want to say, that whatever success that we see in this country in terms of the IT soft power of the nation, the academic institutions of this country have a big role. The digital prowess that India has not landed through a parachute in the country. It has been the faculties across thousands of institutions in this country who have been developing the man-force. Why the world today is looking for the next wave of AI human resources in India is because of what academic institutions are capable of doing. So there is a lot of potential we have. There is a manpower we have to create, and there is a mindset we have to create the right Viksit India. With those words, I welcome both of you here, and we consider ourselves blessed to have you. Let's move on with the session. So the format of the session that we have kept is that we'll invite you to speak for 15 minutes each, and then we open the session for questions from the participants. I hope that works. Yeah. So may I have the joy, honor, privilege of inviting Dr. Kak on the dais first. Dr. Kak, please.
Thank you all who are present here. We have had a wonderful inaugural session, very thoughtful, very insightful, and at the same time bringing us to the reality of the platform today and the future of India tomorrow. We are looking at the theme that shows India at 100. 100 for a country like India is a defeat. It's a civilization which is more than 10,000 years old. It's a civilization that has for more than 5,000 years been the #1 economy of the world. It's a nation which has been the operator of the earliest universities in the world. It's a place where we have had people who have gone beyond the earth, beyond the stars, and invented, discovered, and created wonderful thoughts, wonderful philosophical concepts, and most important of all, created magic in mathematics, created magic in medicine, created magic in human relationships, and most important of all, it was for 5,000 years that no other country knew how to smelt zinc except India. For 4,000 years, no one else could smelt in zinc because it's a very small, strange property, and it was the hallmark of India that it did. We celebrated civilizational benchmarks, we celebrated building cities with amenities that are in fashion today. We have created historical moments not only as the inheritors of such lineage, but we are also going to bring back that kind of this thing. I'm thankful to Dr. Sapna for referring to it, that we are inheritors of such a wonderful history, and we will come back to that. We will be able to create that kind of a magic again, that India becomes another driving force, another energy force, both in terms of not only economy, but also in terms of human values, in terms of relationships, in terms of bringing in where worlds are going to war, we will try to bring in peace. Not peace at the cost of war, but peace that comes out of patience, tolerance, respect, and dignity. We are the bearers of that particular kind of understanding. So coming back to the point, responsibility and accountability of academics towards manpower and mindset. To begin with, let's understand that what is academics? Academics basically means not only books. Unfortunately, what has happened is that we have limited our understanding of academics to books or to magazines or to journals. Academics must get into the lives of each of the citizens. It must enlighten, it must make them happy, and most important of all, it must make them a dignified, responsible citizen of India and the world if possible. As a particular academician, I would love to recommend that try to understand what all is possible by 140 crore people, 1.4 billion people, each of them having a tremendous and enormous ability to think independently, to work logically, and to dedicatedly take it forward. Next slide, please. Okay. The current scenario of academics, skills and vocational education, we have always considered that skills are only for vocational education, which I beg to differ. Skill is given to us right from our birth. When a child is born, nobody teaches us how to suck or how to take water or how to take milk or how to be, how to cry when it wants something. That is the innate skill, how to move limbs, the ability to connect, develop motor nerves in the limbs and in the mind. That is the kind of skill. So let us not only downgrade skills to vocational part, but let us try to talk of skills for living life, and that is why we call them life skills. Life skills will be the most important part for evolving people who are responsible, who are productive, who are creative, who are innovative, and who can understand what relationship is. The relationship is the fundamental thing to any particular growth, and from that stems out other particular things. So literacy, education, and manpower. When we try to talk in terms of what has been happening in the scene on education till now, it's probably more focused on literacy rather than education. When you distinguish that a person who is trying to understand that quality is in education quantity is in literacy. Literacy means you are able to read, you are able to write, or you are able to do some daily things in terms of literature or learning language and other particular things. 3 R's basically was the top this thing, and that is where literacy stops. And that is why we want to take it away from literacy only to education and building manpower, building resources. Attitude, behavior and mindset. Any one of you who is in the world trying to understand, live with each other, we understand that attitude is one of the most positive things. When you get up in the morning and are miserable, you will make others miserable. If you get up in the morning and are happy, you will make the world happy. With that happy attitude, your thoughts will be positive, your thoughts will be creative, you will be able to create that particular positive attitude in your people around you, in the family, in the business and in the workplace. So behavior is coming out of what you are, and mindset is the culmination of what you have learned in the society and what we can teach as academic teachers. Then we try to talk in terms of NEP 2020, pluses and minuses, challenges of AI, scope and constraints, funds, resources and capacity building, Viksit Bharat, objectives and ground reality. This is the scenario I am going to touch. I'll try to first start in terms of skills, training and vocational education. Now my early point is that one of the beautiful things about NEP 2020 was that it started talking in terms of early childhood education and care. So here is one of the fundamental things in the world, that the development of human being is the most from age 1 to age 5. This is a recognized fact. This is a known thing, that your learning ability, your language ability, your relationship building, your building of your own self-belief and other things is crucial from age 1 to age 5. And if we neglect that, if we do not provide the right kind of nutrition, both mental and physical, if you do not provide the right kind of love, relationship, affection and kind of maturity, you are going to create a person who is devoid of those particular final sentiments of being a human being. And the most important thing is language. You are able to learn as many languages. The human being can learn as many languages as possible if he is exposed to different languages during that particular time. Music, language, aesthetics and other particular things, they become one of the most important things in early childhood care and education. So social interaction, how to interact with people, relationship, building relationships, sustaining relationships and getting meaning out of relationships is the more important skill. Language and learning styles and techniques, how to modulate them, how to understand them, how to evaluate them and how to keep growing from there. Hygiene and sanitation, technology interfacing, pros and cons, because today a 2-year kid is able to handle the smartphone probably better than his grandpa, and I have a personal experience of that. So the point I'm trying to make is that they must, I have observed it myself, that many parents, if they want to feed the child, they have to switch on the video, they have to switch on the mobile phone, keep it there, the mind of the child gets busy with that and then they feed it. So now this is the kind of thing we are trying to have relationship with technology. His relationship with technology, understand. Now what he knows, he tries to get the understanding that pleasure comes out of video, comes out of digital technology, comes out of this thing, not from the love of his mother, not from the love of his food, not from the love of his this thing. He forgets about taste, he forgets about texture, he forgets about smell, he forgets about everything. But because he is focused genuinely in the video that he is seeing. and what that video is telling him is, God help us about that. So we have to talk in terms of what are the pros and cons of that kind of a technology, and technology addiction is a reality which we must not ignore. So you will be noticing that there are two colored this thing. I have done it deliberately in order to tell you the black ones are being implemented and taken care of today, but what is not taken care of are the pink ones. The pink ones are what are very, very important. Second, prep and med school, writing and speaking, thinking skills and analyzing skills. We can tell them how to think. We cannot not train them how to think, but we can exceed and accelerate how their thinking process works. There is an enormous amount of literature today on learning, on thinking, on being able to enhance cognitive understanding, what are cognitive impediments and what are cognitive positive things. We can use that for prep and medical school, and we can give them small plays for team building, for leadership in the team, and for making people understand that leader is not the one who is trying to give the ultimate word. Leader is the one who makes others happy with doing what he wants them to do. And that is the kind of leadership quality we are trying to do. Self-management, management of your time, management of your emotions, management of your ability to relate to things, and management of being happy. One of the greatest qualities of Indian education system before the Macaulay experiment came about was that there were 4 things that was essential in order to know what education is. Education means that you are able to know and relate to the world around you. Education means that you are intelligent enough to have the quality of life that you want. You are able to manage your happiness, your ability to be productive, and at the same time, the 4th important thing is, of course, have a spiritual growth that will take you beyond today, beyond the current, and beyond into the other particular part of this thing. So we have forgotten about all those things. So management, time, choices and decisions, ethical and personal this thing. Secondary and tertiary, higher order thinking skills, negotiating skills, project management skills, technology partnership skills, leadership and cultural constraints, multi-domain exchange and interaction. These are majority of the things that we have not been able to inculcate in our higher education system, and this is where we are deficient. We need to do that, and the early childhood skill, this thing, using play-based learning, the mid and prep level, problem-based learning, and finally secondary and tertiary project-based learning. There is a higher phase which is known as proposal-based learning. The proposal-based learning is generally where we try to talk in terms of research and PhD and things like that. Now, literacy, education and manpower. Basically, what we are trying to talk about, transforming current educational system from literacy oriented to learning and knowledge application oriented. Why do we need this? Why do we have a focus on literacy rather than on education? There are 4 important parts to this. Number 1 is that when India achieved independence, India was still moving on the Macaulay platform. The Macaulay platform was that keep the people in such a mode that they cannot think independently, that they cannot bring things on their own. They are kept at a cognitive level which is low, so that they don't challenge what is being done to them, and they don't challenge what things are happening around, and at the same time they don't come together. So these things were the basis of our literacy domain at schools, colleges and everything was limited to that. But even then, if you remember, if you see, we produced some of the Nobel laureates during that particular time. How? Why? I mean, those Nobel laureates did all that in India, in remote this thing. I'm talking of C.V. Raman. I'm talking of Krishna. I'm talking of other particular people. They had the capacity to, even under those circumstances, to excel and become world-class this thing and get to the Nobel Prize domain, or even better. We had Tagore, we had other particular people. But my point is that after that, suddenly what we find, there is a decline, because that education system, which was inherited by us, that education system finally faltered, and we came to the point where our knowledge appreciation, the appreciation of being able to understand what learning is. Learning, it does not happen. The point is, learning does not happen if somebody teaches you. Learning happens if you want to learn. Learning is a quality of every living being. Even trees learn, even animals learn, everybody learns, because without learning you cannot live. There are three things that we must understand. Learning is part of life, communication is part of life, and being able to relate to the world is part of life. If you do not have, you've got any one of them, you will not be able to live. So introducing 360-degree holistic training and education with 21st century skills is the major goal that we should have in education, which is not happening at the present moment, because we have this 360 understanding in terms of material things, but not in terms of beyond the material. Now I'll give you one small thing. What is it that makes a person responsible? What inspires people to do something extraordinary? What are the things that make you stand out? All these three things happen because you want to do something for good of the others. If you want to do something good for good of others, you will be able to take up not what you want, but what others have need are. So you try to distinguish between your needs and the needs of others. So it makes your understanding much wider, it makes your feeling much wider, it makes your scope of world much wider. And that is the major thing, that education in the holistic domain will be made possible only if we are trying to talk in terms of that area where we are deficit today. And we are deficit in this particular area, that our knowledge application is very poor. We are very poor in applying what we learn, because we are not learning it to apply. We are learning it to pass the exam, we are learning it to get marks, we are learning it to get a degree. We are not learning it to get apply that and create something new for the world. So introducing higher order thinking and core competency building is the goal for education, and if you are able to do that, then the manpower you build, that manpower will be the one which will try to take you beyond the need of here and now. Let's try to take an example of ISRO. I've been fortunate or lucky enough to have an interaction with them. For almost 10 years, they were not allowed to have an engine, which rocket engine. But the rocket engine work was going on, even when we did not have the kind of material, we did not have the kind of ecosystem, and we did not have the kind of manufacturing capability of that kind. But lo and behold, even under those particular conditions, we did develop engines. The Vikas engine was an example, and this Vikas engine has been able to take and has never failed. It has done such a wonderful work that even our BSLV, GSLV, and now the Meta rocket, these are being propelled because of that particular engine. my point of making this particular story was that until and unless you are aiming for something which is great, aiming for something which is required not for yourself, not for the thing, but for the whole society and the country, then only you can try to talk and learn. So problem solving and okay, sorry. Technology infusion for content. Now we have a challenge in the particular this thing. I'm sorry for this thing. We have a challenge that Mr. Shivkumar said that we have an advantage that we are in terms of we know English and we can interact with English and we can work with English. Today AI has completely smashed that linguistic barrier. Any linguistic barrier you want in written or in words is crossing, and you can talk what in your language and it will relate in the language of the speaker, and you can choose that. So the language barrier is no longer valid. Second barrier, that we are able to create the content in any particular language or take content from any other language into and translate it and give it to our students is possible online. And at the same time, we are able to have the wonderful opportunity to use that AI, for certain particular things. So what we are trying to talk in terms of the passive learner to active learner as core attribute of change in education is a fundamental thing. The passive learner will only be able to absorb, but it will not be able to, in our particular understanding of language or in our understanding of learning, we know that learning happens when you apply that, when you are useful and it is your personal this thing, any particular example. So passive learner to active learner takes place in that particular manner. Creative, innovative and positive attitude interpretation will mean that you have the ability to resolve what are the conflicts, what are the constraints and what are the limitations of what you have learned. Once you cross that, then only you can be creative, then only you can, because you know what the limitation of your knowledge is and you want to go beyond that. So using that, so long as you are copying only what others have done, you will not be in a particular creative or innovative mode. Outlook modulation for goal setting, success, failure and performance handling and under constraints of stress. Exactly until unless we know how to handle success, we know how to handle failure, we know that failure will be there and whatever may come, it's not that you will always succeed. But when you fail, you must understand why you have failed, what are the reasons for that failure and how you can overcome those failures. It is a self-training, it's a mental attitude, it's also a mindset that failure should be a part of your success. A very good example given that you have failed thrice, 3 ventures you have failed, but the 4th venture you can succeed and make a decision. It is one of the qualities, I'm sorry to say, in all Marwadis it was this thing that unless you have, अगर तुमने दिवाला 3 बार 4 बार नहीं किया है तो तुमने क्या बिजनेस किया है. So that is the kind of quality we must have. That was the kind of quality we had. So outlook modulation, goal setting, self-belief. Now we are trying to talk in terms of picking up everything for IQ, but more important thing when you are working is EQ, SQ and RQ. EQ is emotional quotient, SQ is spiritual quotient and RQ is relationship quotient. Until unless you master all these 3, you will not be able to use your IQ. IQ will only make your material happiness, but without EQ and SQ you will not have personal happiness, you will not have relationship happiness, and that is why it is important to teach that. And teach that at what level? When you are in early childhood education care and at the prep and middle school. And immersive technology exposure, AI and ChatGPT use pros and cons. This is going to be one of the greatest challenge to any educational system, and this challenge will have to be met by us in terms of evolving protocols, in terms of evolving standard operating procedures, and in terms of being able to govern, to guide, to mentor, in teaching students so that they know how to use and not to abuse or not to misuse AI. Inter and intracultural behavior, economic and social diversity. I was very happy to understand when they said that we must develop respect and we must develop civility. Both of these things, both of these qualities come out of only one thing. You know, when we sit down for tapasya or when we sit down for meditation, any kind of things happen to you. You get different thoughts, you get different this thing, you start itching, you start scratching, you start this thing, feeling discomfort, your legs start getting this, whatever. So, overcoming that by physical effort, physical limitation is the first training to understanding what is tolerance. If you are able to tolerate your own sensual input, then going from there, your focus of the mind is the more important thing that you have to understand as a way to be more tolerant. Until unless you tolerate physical things, you will not be able to have a relationship with proper people. I think NEP 2020, most of you know it, the 5-year integrated bachelor master's program, 4-year BTech bachelor's program, and in each particular point you have a certificate or diploma or degree or bachelor's degree, and that is this thing. The minuses are that I have shown the outcomes, but the incomes, that is the outgoing and the incoming paths must be very well defined. The outgoing paths have been defined, but the incoming paths have not been defined. Because of which what happens is that if somebody comes from different school and wants to enter at he has the 2 years program and wants to enter for degree program, the kind of exchange of grades, exchange of other particular things is very, very poor, and that needs to be fixed in NEP 2020. Second, that the PhD program and research action must not be in terms of only what gets you a degree, how many papers you publish and how many this thing. There must be a litmus test in terms of how it enriches society, how it will benefit India, how it will benefit humanity, and how it will make others better people and better lifestyle. The NEP implementation plan, this is of course the standardization, we can skip it. Challenges of AI and scope. Do our schools, colleges and institutions have the required resources, hardware, software, teachers, and including AI education? So the first thing that we need to do is AI teaching, making teachers capable of understanding, using and deploying AI in their content, in their examination, in their assessment, and in their daily work schedule. Training teachers at every level to handle, use, monitor, abuse and misuse of AI tools in education. Will it create yet another privileged classroom and syndrome? That is another particular thing. People talk of equity. Equity cannot be held because the metro school and the village school both can, the distance, the diversity is so huge that we have to bridge this gap. And the most beautiful thing is AI can do it. AI can bridge that particular gap between what is being done in a metro or what is being done anywhere in the world and what can be done in a remote school. And how to train students to understand, overcome and negate biases in AI. How to stop students from relying on AI for various tasks with zero learning or cognitive gain. How to create personalized learning ecosystem with AI and enhance creative support by instant guidance, mentoring and feedback. One of the most idealistic situations in education is to have a personal trainer, a personal teacher, a personal guide, a personal mentor. That is what an AI can do, and the only thing is, can we do that in our education system? If we can bring that, the shortage of teachers is over, the shortage of creative impulses and the ability to understand and interact. So the student knows the AI and its follows its life cycle, so it can handle the student much better and much more closely. How to create dynamic, but one point of caution, that never allow any technology to be your master. Master technology to be used, but never allow any technology to be your master. Let it not be part of your thinking that I can do anything with technology. No, you can do anything by yourself using technology, maybe. How to use AI for idea shaping, innovative problem solving, and special tools and techniques like Archer. Archer is a wonderful teacher. If you use Archer, it will tell you how to do math solving, problem solving, and any particular math area. It tells you and guides you in a wonderful way, and that is the quality of AI that we should appreciate. How to create dynamic, responsive, learner-centric system and a deeper system. Funds, resources, and capacity building. I will try to skip this. In the last I will try to have only highlight 3 things. Viksit Bharat, the most important thing is human factor. Without human factor, you cannot have Viksit Bharat. Until and unless a human being developed, a human being is the prime mover of any particular country. It is the prime mover of any particular nation. Until unless you are able to create a particular person who is happy, who is skillful, who knows how to maintain relationships, and who is becoming productive, until unless he has those 4 qualities, you might have millions of people. Those millions of people will not be able to make you into Viksit Bharat until and unless you have these 4 qualities. So our education system must create these 4 qualities, and not only create these 4 qualities in him, must be able to assess them. We must be able to say that if a person, there must be certain basic benchmarks, both for school education, for higher education, and for research in every area, until unless. One of the greatest shortcomings, I have spent so much of 45 years of my life in education. My major problem is that in any educational institution, there are no standard operating procedures. If you build standard operating procedures, things can be streamlined, things can be made accountable, things can be held responsible, and things can be made operational with minimum cost, with maximum output, and at the same time with a more suitable this thing. The second thing I want to talk about is geofactors. Geofactors are going to be the primary driver properly enforced if Viksit Bharat has to evolve. And these geofactors will not be within this thing. I'm sorry to take too much of time. So climate change, development, environment, security, cyberspace, and demographic conflicts. I should have got this thing. I'm sorry, but the last word I want to say is that you know what is the basic model difference between Western culture and the Indian culture? The Western culture thinks of this life and this life only. So whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you achieve, whatever you have is for this life. And the Indian culture, on the other hand, I would say the Oriental culture, talks in terms of life as a continuity. It's not for this life. It is for whatever ancestors did, whatever they think, and whatever future generation will have. Understand that our DNA is not made today. Our DNA was made and evolved over millions of years. And that DNA gives you certain characteristics. It gives you the ability of who you are. And that memory is to be preserved in any particular person. I think I have taken over much of time. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
To GMA for inviting me, and also I've heard a few such words which have pleased me quite a lot. And if you not have invited me, would not have been possible to listen to those words. Very important, and I'll correct. Sir has already talked about quite a lot of responsibility of academics. I'm going to ask some very simple, plain questions. I am a person from a small village of this country, son of a mom who never saw school, and father who was a farmer. He studied only up to class 7th. But he knew he had quite a lot of interest in our religion. He remembered Ramcharitmanas in its entirety. And I have heard many things from him. There was one chaupai which he used to say. I'll recite that chaupai was Bandam Gurupad Padum Paraga Surunjit Subhas Saras Anuraga. I suppose all of you know. Oh, okay. I suppose all of you must have understood what is the meaning of this. Sir has mentioned about what academics is supposed to be and what academics should be doing. I have heard the answer of one question from most of the people in the hall, that do we believe that by 2047 we will become Viksit Bharat? And most of you have said yes. That means here we as Indians believe that Viksit Bharat will happen much earlier than 2047. Now, what is the responsibility? What exactly is supposed are doables for this? And why I mentioned about that chaupai. As a child, each one of us have taken birth, we're children. Now we have grown up at different stages. We are at different stage of life. But again, from my father only I have heard that इंसान के 3 गुरु होते हैं. पहला माता, दूसरा पिता और तीसरा आचार्य. आचार्य, माता और पिता सिंगल होते हैं. हर किसी के एक माता एक पिता. आचार्य बहुत सारे होते हैं. Now academics is talking about आचार्य portion. हम सब को पहले 2 गुरु हम अपने बच्चों के हैं. और if India is to reach to the level of Viksit Bharat, Indians will have to do the best. We have already seen a few Indians talking about India, this belief in India that India can do it, can do attitude. And this belief that it will be possible only when all these 3 parts work together. The first 2 parts are with us, with you. The third part only is academics. And sir has already mentioned that what academics should be doing. Academics academic system has got primarily 3 responsibilities. What is generally believed? One is teaching. The second one is research, obviously, is in higher education. Third one is teaching what and researching what. So if the third one becomes socially responsible teaching and research, so responsibility to the society is the third one. Now if all the 3 combine together, if the third one takes care of what do we teach and what do we research so that we include in the teaching, then probably the growth, the third portion, Mata Pita Acharya, Acharya's part will be done in the best possible way. And then only we would reach to Viksit Bharat. Maybe earlier than Viksit Bharat, for sure we will reach. But how quickly, it entirely depends on how do we do all these three. As far as the third part is concerned, first, second part, I urge, I request each one of you Indians to contribute your part so that your children are getting the best of Mata as a teacher, Pita as a teacher, and Acharya. I am suggesting what can be done. Now, see the third part. I am giving you one example from my own life. I am a BTech, MTech, and PhD from IIT Delhi, and I have been given the responsibility of erecting NTPC School of Business. I was appointed by NTPC some 10 years back to start NTPC School of Business. Before that, I was a professor of finance in an institute known as IMT Ghaziabad. Now, I educated myself at IIT Delhi. So in order to, I am a professor of finance, in order to get the exposure of IIT professors to my IMT students, I invited one of my professors to deliver a guest lecture. And the professor was sitting in my room. Professor said, Girish, chai mao. I ordered, chai aa gayi. Chai ke saath mein बिस्किट नहीं आया. He said, Girish, biscuit मंगाओ. I ordered, biscuit भी आ गई. Then the professor said one sentence, and this is something which is very important. I learned. The professor said कि कभी भी अकेले चाय नहीं पीते, बिस्किट भी साथ में होना चाहिए. और ये बात तुमको, he was not my supervisor. ये बात तुमको मेरे सुपरवाइजर का नाम लिया, उन्होंने नहीं सिखाया क्या? Now I started thinking. Obviously, I felt sorry. I did everything, but I started thinking that means the responsibility of my professor was to tell me even this, कि biscuit के बिना चाय नहीं पीते. Now you can understand that what is the responsibility of academics towards development of the people. I am a product of IIT Delhi. My professor, it is not a written responsibility, but it is a responsibility which is taken by IIT professors, that they have to coach their students, their what, as how to live life. Now living life starts from the home. This is why I mentioned Mata, Pita, and Acharya. So our responsibility towards developing our country so that we reach to the level of Viksit Bharat is something which is defined, and I request, I urge that each one of you please discharge your responsibility. I am sure that the academics will discharge its responsibilities and develop the correct mindset and manpower for the development of this country. Thank you.
Time is the biggest spoil sport in all these conventions, and we hate to cut our speakers short. They have so much of wisdom to share, but we have our own constraints. So wonderful listening to you speakers. Thank you, eminent dignitaries, for your expert insights. Kindly accept a small token of honors. It is a profound privilege to extend a token of gratitude to Professor S.K. Kag sir. Can we have a round of applause for him? I request Mr. Arun Agrawal to kindly present a token of honor to have you with us, sir. We are indeed humbled by your gracious presence. Thank you so much. We request Mr. Samal Sikri to present a token of gratitude to Dr. Girish. We request Dr. T.R. Pandey to kindly present a token of gratitude. Please, sir. We are indebted for wonderfully moderating the session, we request Professor Amit Sarin to kindly present ma'am with a token of gratitude. Professor Amit Sarin. Of the day, we request all our dignitaries to kindly join us for a group photograph. Ma'am, can we have you in front of the dais, please? All our the technical session.